If you hadn't heard, Queen Elizabeth II died a few days ago. In fact, if you actually hadn't heard that news, then you're so out of the loop that I'm actually kind of jealous. That's a genuine achievement given the media saturation. Even the Buckingham Palace bees know about it. I actually saw Mrs. Mountbatten in the flesh once when she visited Australia in March 1986. Because Mum was a bit of a royalist and I was 11 years old, so I didn't know any better. I just knew Mum was going to give me a day off to see Her Majesty walk past her subjects, and for a few seconds there she was in front of me, and it was great. It was 1986, people were still down with the royal family. That changed. The Queen lived a lot longer than I think anyone suspected she would. She became Queen just as the Empire was starting to fall apart, and then lived to see the royal family and people's relationship with it fall apart as well. Even she wasn't immune to criticism, as some of the reaction to Diana's death in 1997 showed. But for the most part, I think she remained more personally popular than the rest of her family or the institution itself. When Charles's time comes, I don't think he'll inspire anywhere near the same sort of reaction, certainly not from John Lydon. Also, Charles isn't going to be king for anywhere near as long as his mum, at least not without some quite remarkable advances in medical technology. It feels a bit weird that she's not there now. She was the Queen in the way that John Paul II was the Pope. He was actually the third Pope in my lifetime, but I didn't remember Paul VI or the original John Paul because both of them died in 1978, which puts them outside the limits of my memory. But Liz was always the Queen. She'd been the Queen for 22 years already when I was born, and I suppose the number of people who remember the time when she wasn't Queen is steadily shrinking. 70 years is a long time for one person to hold down the same job, and if they hang around long enough, it's bound to feel a bit odd when someone else takes over from them. Beyond that, to be honest, I don't really have much of a reaction. I can't get as worked up about it one way or the other as some have done, because she was 96 after all. It's a historic moment, undeniably, but it was one that was going to happen eventually. And her not being there really doesn't change that much, I don't think. I'm fairly sure it's not going to affect the political processes that actually affect people on a daily basis. As long as the Tories are in government in the UK, neoliberalism isn't going anywhere, with or without a queen or a king, or indeed a monarchy at all. I think if there's someone we should have sympathy for during this difficult period, it's the other Liz. Liz Truss, the new Prime Minister of the UK. The Queen swore her in as PM on Tuesday, then fell ill on Wednesday and died on Thursday. That's nothing if not an ominous start to Truss's leadership of the country, which I presume will otherwise be as damaging to the UK as the last 12 years of Conservative rule have been. But that'll be the King's problem now, not his mum's.